Hey everyone, it's Mandy. Welcome to week 1 of the Here It Is mini sessions. If you don't know, I recently wrote my first book called Here It Is My Healing, and in the book I talk about different things that I went through in my life and the coping mechanisms I used and kind of how it shaped my views on my self-esteem and just love and life in general. And the very first poem in the book, I talk about my adoption. So this week, that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to kind of tell you my story. I'm not a licensed therapist. I don't have a mental health degree or childhood trauma degree or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of further expand on the poem and just kind of tell you my point of view on being an adopted child, I guess. So I was about 4 or 5 months old when I was adopted. My birth mother was with my father, and it was an extremely toxic relationship. He was a horrible person, didn't want anything to do with me. And my adopted mom, who is actually my birth mother's sister, at the time she was newly married, had a beautiful home, was financially stable. She had, I guess, everything that a baby or child would need to survive and thrive in the world. So my birth mother thought if she gave me to her, not only would I be well taken care of, but she would also still be able to watch me grow and have a relationship with me. And so her and my adopted mom came up with some kind of agreement. And I think after, even though I was legally adopted at 4 or 5 months old, after about a year, it was kind of set in stone. Like, okay, this is going to be who I'm going to be staying with. I think in order to protect me, there was kind of a decision made that I wouldn't know until my birth mother and my adopted mother decided that we should all sit down and talk about it together. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. My birth mother had an older daughter before I was born, and she ended up telling me when I was about 5 or 6 that I was adopted, that she was my sister, and that my aunt was really my mom. And even at such a young age, I remember very vividly feeling kind of like a sense of rejection. When she told me my birth mother had already remarried, left my father, and she had another child. And so I couldn't help but feel like there was something wrong with me, because she had an older child, she had a younger child. I was smack dab in the middle, and I'm the only one that was given away. So I immediately felt the sense of rejection. And I had a lot of questions. And if you are an adopted parent, especially if it's in family, what I'm going to say next, I really hope you kind of take this advice, because I think if my mother would have put her own feelings aside, things could have been completely different. But when I would go visit my birth mom on the weekend, we would talk about the adoption. And my birth mom, I think in a way to not make me feel so bad, would kind of tell me things like, if I could rewind time, I would, I would have done things differently. If your mother would say that I could have you, I would take you back. I think as a child, I took that literally. And so every time I went home to my mother, I would tell her, well, and whoever said that if you want, I can go back over there, and I want to be with her, and I want to have that relationship with her. And I think my mom, letting herself get the better of her, she started taking that as rejection herself. So she felt like, in a way, I was saying, I don't like the way you're raising me. You're not providing for me enough. I'd rather go back over there. And I think it kind of started forming like a jealousy thing. So if you are an adoptive parent and you have adopted a child, and that child, let's just say, for example, that child came from a really horrible place. Let's say their parents were drug addicts and abused the child every day and did horrible things, and you adopt them and they find out and they want those parents back. Please understand, it has nothing to do with your parenting. I don't think anybody understands what it feels like to be adopted unless you yourself have been adopted. We have, even in an in-family adoption, we have to grieve essentially the death of that life we could have had with our real parents. we feel rejected. We have a loss of identity. Even in an in-family adoption, I had a loss of identity. I didn't know who I was. Who would Mandy have been if her mother kept her? Because in my family, we have a variety of religions, and one aunt is raising her kids as Jehovah Witnesses, one aunt is raising her kids as Catholics, one aunt is an atheist, or one uncle is a Buddhist, or whatever. So even though it's all family, the way I turned out might have been completely different had she just kept me and raised me. So we have a sense of lost identity. We don't know who we are. We don't know who we would have been. So we're grieving, we're confused, we're hurt, rejected. Because of all those feelings, you sometimes get a form of depression. You develop a little bit of anxiety. I mean, I was in 7th grade when I had to see a doctor and was prescribed my first antidepressant that I ended up not taking because it was really bad for me. But, there really isn't a lot of help out there when you're adopted. You get, most adopted kids, if you're an adopted kid, maybe you can relate to this. This is what you get told. You're so special. So many people love you. You have so many people out there that love you. Okay, if I'm so special and so many people love me, then why was it so easy to just get rid of me? I'm sorry, I don't want to hear it. I want to know the truth. I want to be hurt so bad by the truth, because then I'll be able to heal. All these little cookie cutter answers, sugar coated answers. Oh baby, if I could, I would take you back. I regret it. Da da da. That's not good for you. Every time my birth mother told me if she could, she would take it back, I took that literally. And I would tell my birth mom, can I please go back to her? And my birth mother had to put me in a very uncomfortable position where she said, you know what, call her right now. If she will take you back, you can go back. And I made that phone call thinking that I was going to be able to be reunited with my family, and it was going to be this great thing. And I put her in the position of having to reject me again by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean literally. So even if it hurts, even if it's hard, the more brutally honest I feel like you can be with a child in whatever way you know who your child is, whatever way you know that they can handle. I think it would be better than trying to sugarcoat it or make them feel better, because we already feel like shit. So anything you say isn't gonna make us feel any worse. If anything, I'd rather have known the hardcore truth, because then I could heal from that, knowing like, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. She felt this, she felt this. Now I know, so I'm gonna figure out just how to live with that. If you're adopted yourself, I've looked and it's so hard to find resources. I don't really think there is very many, because I don't think there is enough research on it. I mean, adoption is not a one size fits all. Every single kid that has been adopted, whether we feel the exact same things, the situation will be completely different. We're going to handle it differently. Some kids probably would have preferred to know from the beginning. Some kids probably handle it better as adults. For me personally, when I think back on how everything happened, I'm glad I found out at such a young age, because knowing the person that I am, I think had I found out as an adult, I probably would have handled it horribly. Excuse me. I think I probably would have handled it horribly, or more horribly. But yeah, so that is kind of my story and a little bit of advice. I'm sorry if it's kind of all over the place and doesn't really answer anything, but it's hard. It's a hard thing to go through. I'm 33 and I still sometimes struggle with it. When I have a bad day, sometimes I think back, like, oh, it's probably because I was adopted. And it's something that no one, unless you've gone through it yourself, you really personally won't know how it feels. It's a lot. It hurts. It sucks. And if I don't know. Hopefully I've given you a little bit more insight to it. Maybe you can see it differently. Especially, I'm mainly talking to you, the parent of adopted children, because I wish somebody would have talked to my mom, because as I grew, the relationship with me and her only got worse, and I think it was because of the resentment she felt towards me. But anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap this up. That's week 1, adoption. And next week I do want to kind of talk a little bit about childhood neglect and mental abuse. If you have any questions on that topic, or if you would like me to mention anything in particular, please leave a comment below. If you do not want anybody to know that you're commenting, just go ahead and send me an email. My email is linked to my channel. If you want to read my book, it is available on Amazon. I do have the link also available on my channel. It is called Here It Is My Darling. Here It Is My Healing by Mandy Darling. I should have had it next to me, but I don't. I'll probably just put a picture at the end of it. Yeah, I can't wait to see you and spend time with you next week and just continue talking to you, and hopefully we can kind of all start the journey of healing together. I honestly believe it's a lifetime journey. I think we're going to constantly need to grow and learn and adapt. And I think that one of the first steps is just talking about it, just kind of letting your story be heard, no matter how long it's been. Or I don't think anybody's story is insignificant. Even if you grew up in what seems like a perfect home or whatever, I think everybody still feels pain in some way and feels hurt, and they deserve to have the opportunity to speak on their stories. But anyways, I'm rambling now. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have an amazing day. Be safe, and I will see you next week.